Hello, ladies and gentlemen. On this edition of Real Talk with B, we will discuss the petroleum situation in the United States and practically all over the world. And now, it first says in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, the first verse, it says, "In the beginning, God created heaven and earth." In the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. So that's Genesis 1. Okay? So, we live in a climate, in a situation where we have difficulty embracing the situation with this particular verse. Now, the environment is the environment, and there's been a lot of, abuse in general with a lot of the products, a lot of the, the crops and everything, with all the pesticides and everything. That's why organic is so prevalent now. And then you have, like, back in, my parents' generation or before then, they ate real organic because they ate from the fields and the farms, and they ate from natural resources. But in this particular case, it's more like, hey, we gotta have electric vehicles and all this stuff. But in general, unless there's a plan in place, this is not gonna happen in 2 or 3 years. It's gonna take a while. And, years ago it was said that we were gonna have flying cars and stuff like that. It was depicted in movies. I remember the movie like Demolition Man depicted virtual reality. That's basically what Meta is, the Meta virtual reality thing. But there are no cars flying as of yet. And that's why there's so many high prices of like products and stuff like that, because transportation costs are transportation costs. Now, that is essentially the issue here that I find, that the debate is, you want to preserve the environment, but a Tesla is expensive, electric cars in general are expensive, hybrid cars are expensive, and not everybody has the time of the world though to go charge their cars, because even if you go charge your cars, there's not enough charging stations to do such a thing. And I'm just thinking off the top of my head. So when it comes to the particular situation, when you talk about what's happening in Russia, in the Ukraine right now and everything, it revolves around petroleum. The Iraq war was all about petroleum. Afghanistan, it dealt more with like opioids and stuff like that, but also there was means to, for resource there. Everything's a resource and everything has a reaction. There's a lot of chaotic things happening in the atmosphere, but everything centers around a pretext of oil. A pretext of oil. And without the oil, we can't get moving. So my general thing is that, you can create things to the stuff through whatever is left of the petroleum to a lot of stuff that we use today. But in general, when it comes to transportation, this is the most practical thing. It makes the most sense. And this is designed specifically to get the people thinking that this is the way to go. Petroleum high, let's get people on gas. Let's get people on electric cars. Let's people ride bikes, but people live in rural areas, and not everybody has the means to do it. And what about the buses? What about the people transferring stuff to stores? So the Bible talks about it. So a lot of this is people make this an idol, the environment, and when it comes down to it, it's about practicality. It's not about feelings. It's not about forecasting, because you're basically cursing the atmosphere when you're forecasting. And that goes vice versa. People of faith can't do that either. But at the same time, you got to use your wisdom, because life and death is in power of the tongue. But who love it will eat their fruit, says 18:21 of Proverbs. So that's what you got to be mindful of. So in essence, the first verse of the Bible says it clearly, and that's the whole premise of what I would say about this whole environmental label petroleum. Listen, In the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. So, I'll leave it at that. And that's the first verse in Genesis 1. So it's right there in front of you. Right there in front of you. So this has been, that's basically my premise. So thanks for watching. This has been Real Talk with B for this episode. Subscribe if you like. Until next time. Bless.